So here's what's up. I didn't glue the hands on, but as always, let me crank the light. But I'm thinking I'm going to airbrush some white. But first, I think the best move is typically to kind of hit them with a gray first. So just some black and white. I'm using my big brush. And we're just going to take some of the excess moisture off. And we're just going to use clean heart pulls, like a 3D printer. And it's just a little wet for spread. And this is kind of the things that you learn about in active washing and how you can spread the moisture out. Maybe dry the brush up as needed. And lay it down. So what I'm trying to do is just get like a semi-gray base coat on the shoulders. So that when I use the airbrush, it's not necessarily about coverage as much as it is about generating highlights. And this is a relatively low opacity base coat. It's a little wet, low opacity. As it dries, a lot of that black information is going to show through the gray. Okay, I think the other arm is a little trickier to get off. Try to be careful here. Got it. It's just like a straight shot. Jimmy Norris. You wish outsiders were 3 to 6 unit size. OnePlus 8, would I still airbrush them if you couldn't remove them? Yeah, I would. I would just maybe use the hobo shell, do the same thing. I would base coat them maybe 2 or 3 times to get them kind of light. And then I would use the airbrush, throttled, get really tight. And it's okay to get a little overspray of the black. You just gotta wipe that. You can wipe that out. So I would have done it before I did any edge highlighting. And then any like that overspray would have just blacked it out. A tiny AF Sisters Aquila? No, I wouldn't do that. I'll just paint that by hand. It's just simple edge highlighting strategies. So you see these are drying up pretty good. So now we've got like a nice mid-gray on there. And what I'm probably going to do is get more white into my gray. Do a second thin coat. Because it's much harder to just like raw dog the white right over the black. But if I do just a couple thin coats, progressive like this, using my big number 4 brush. See, I'm working off this one wet edge I built and using light brush pressure and a heart pull strategy. And just smoothing it all out. Notes, I don't want any texture. Just keep it nice and light. And it's okay if it's streaky, just not textured. And it's probably not going to be textured because of how much moisture we used to lower the opacity. Because we'll use the airbrush to smooth everything out in a second. I just need something for the airbrush to work with. Because I don't want to like have it to be raw dogging this white. It's just annoying. I'm gonna rinse my brush.
Hey, are you Dirty Mike and the boys?
Your cops! Rub your dicks on the car as you run away! We are gonna have sex in your car! It will happen again!
Yo, is that my dude Dub Sherman, aka the Wisher Man? Coming in, dropping a 26 spot. Double Yo DZ says, last show I'll be able to catch this year. See you in 2022. Happy holidays. Yo, Dub Sherman, thank you so much. It's the Wisher Man, guys. Let me get some hype. That's an old school supporter right there. That dude's been crushing it for years. Thank you, homie. Dub Sherman, I'm setting up the airbrush now while that's drying. And my airbrush, of course, was sitting in just a little bit of simple green. So I'm going to rinse the solution out. My hobo sink. We're just going to get that, the soapy suds out real quick. It doesn't take much. I think I got it. Meticulous cast says, since the trim will be red, wouldn't it make sense to cover the trimmer grade too? Yeah, that'd be fine, but it's not necessary. You don't have to avoid painting the trim. But red has good stick. You don't have to worry about it too much. Now, I could probably get away with this just bright neutral gray. A little bright neutral gray in the pot. A little bit of touch of flow improver. Touch of water. I'm gonna throttle down. Exclamation point Gunner, first time chatter. What's up, brother? What is that? Lowling. This is Mr. Hobby. The GSI. Procon or something like that. So now I'm gonna be able to just kind of sneak in here, guys. It's a little too throttled. See, I'm going to get some on the arm, no problem. Now, it's a little wetter than I want. I'm going to hit it with some air. Just to dry it up real quick. Just going to rock the needle back a little bit less. Like I said, this is what I was talking about, where you don't really have to worry about the overspray of black. I'll just cut that back in. Just blew this across the table. Just gonna give it a second pass. Oh no, did I get a hair on this? Yep. I just took some water. When I blew it across the table, I got a hair embedded in it. So what I did there was I just kind of reactivated the paint super quick. And now I'm going to just kind of spread it out. And because if I had kept going, I would have had a hair in there forever. So I just kind of reset the shoulder pad with just some water. Pull that hair right out. There we go. Back to that finish I wanted. Oh my god, I blew it over again. What is wrong with me? Oh my god, and I got another hair on it. Okay, Kenny. ADHD time. So I just literally did it again. We got to pull all that paint back off. I took some of that moisture off with a paper towel. You know, you might be able to get away with a hair in there as long as it wasn't fucking white. You know what I'm saying? So put the shoulder pads out of the spray zone. Move them. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, out of the spray zone. Party case. Jesus, Kenny. The kids guys keep fucking with you. Yep. Just hitting it with air right now. A little bit more paint. Air. Air, 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 air. Paint. Air. Just letting it dry naturally. Okay, so I got this dirty paint water. I'm gonna put some VOL titanium white in it. All right, this should be fine. We come in from the top. Move it out of the splash zone. Fine. I'm gonna dump the pot. Just a little bit of dirty paint water in there. VOL titanium white. What am I using? That's VOL titanium white monument hobbies. Exclamation point monument. Little flow improver. Maybe a touch of water. Pop my cap off real quick. My throttle. Okay. That out of the splash zone. And I'm trying to keep this white kind of to the top. Gotta hit it with pure air. Help it dry. And now I'm going to do one last pass to maximize the opacity of that white. And we're leaving like a subtle bit of neutral gray kind of in there as a transition, but keeping it mostly white. I'm going to rinse this guy down. Put my airbrush cap back on. Alright, let me cut the power. What kind of air compressor am I using? I'm using this like L7 compressor that I think I have a link for that you can't, that's out of stock. You don't need it. You can buy pretty much any compressor. Some black from yesterday. I need to put more coal black down. It's mostly, I think, transparent black. So there's some coal black. So now you just rebuild the black using the heart pull. Make sure you just wipe out the overspray. This is what I was talking about 1+ saves. If you're going to do this on your sister's shoulder pads, you just don't do any highlighting or details first. You just spray it all black, cut the shoulders in real quick, and then just recut the black in on the arms, and then you go into your edge highlight game. Now, because I did some slight modulation with blue and white, I'm going to kind of wet glaze some in right here. While it's still wet, using the capillary effect, go back to black. Using the heart pull strategy and moisture, we're putting that slight shine in the top. We did that with our airbrush. Like hobos. So now there's that slight gray on top. Let me let that dry, not near my airbrush and stuff. Now this one, I think I'm about to glue this one back on. Or maybe put it on. Will that work? Tack, where my tack at? Where my blue tack? The reds. Ray Pray, yeah. The link to the LZ new compressor is dead. Straight 404. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an import from Japan. Just a hobby import. And so I think they only had limited quantity. They were testing the market in the United States. And the market is not tight. It's too expensive. Like, we get compressors for like $70 to $100 here. And all of our compressors are using the same open-ended pattern. And whereas that compressor is actually sick new innovation. It's the only compressor I've ever used that's like, yo, it's quiet. And it is. It has shock absorbers on it. It only goes to about 15 PSI, so it's a little underpowered. But for what I do, I've been using it for like what, 2 years? It's fine. Okay, let's get some of that modulation with the gray blue. While it's still wet, you could just use that heart pull. While it's still wet, you see, build that gray. Get a little moisture, go back to the black. So a little gray on top. Let that chill. Now, let's get some burnt red. It's classic. We're talking old school. So what to do is easy, right? Just a dark red and a bright red. Dark red. Bright red. Come on. There's paint in there. Bulb. Oh, just dribbled some on me. Of course, it doesn't come out until I open it. Bruticus, I'm guessing that any mini compressor would work. Nah, some of them are shit. Like, I used to like the Iwata Silverjet, but I don't think it's good anymore. I think they changed it too much. I mean, like, but you shouldn't need. You don't really need to spend more than much more than $100 though. That's what I will say. In America, you don't really need to spend more than $100. They're all kind of the same compressor. So, burnt red. And you don't need to run it super opaque, but more on the opaque side is better. So what we need to do is get into the heart pull. So more opaque, a little bit drier. And we want to work kind of off the safe edge, right? Which is not the interior, right? We want to work off the exterior. And use the heart pull. And the heart pull strategy, we talk about it, we teach it in our lessons. We use the tip of our brush, pull back. Their natural bone structure, barely moving our hand. And I'm working off the safe edge because if I make like any kind of sudden moves like I did there, I still got time to kind of adjust. And now I'm into the shelf and I'm still safe. Okay? So with the heart pull, you want to rotate and keep finding that vertical pullback position. And here you see we've got a lot of safety in this ledge, so we're going to work off the wet edge into the unsafe area. I'm leaving deliberately a strip of trim not painted as I pull back. So that's a safe line, and now we're going to get into not safe. And I'm going to rest it on that top shelf. You want to mitigate how much red actually gets on the white fields. Using the heart pull and that safe edge technique. Cure off, thank you for the follow. Now always take that second to reorient because you want to get back to that heart pull strategy. So I'm gonna be a little bit wetter here. Because now it's like white gray. Lower body paint will be fine on it. But now as I get into the risky business, we're back to high opacity. We're still working safe. We're working off the safe edge. And I'm keep making sure that my angle is pretty steep, Because if you start like getting shallow, you start like laying the edge of your brush down and you'll make mistakes. So now I'm going to rotate slightly and I'm going to hit that shelf.
I say I'm 1,000,000%. That is better than 100%. 1,000,000%.
Rotate again. It's a good base coat. I'm going to put that in the splash zone, out of the splash zone. Congrats on the gift bag there, my man Frozen Hobbit. Now let's hit the other one. And I already have an awesome idea for freehand on this. So now you guys understand a little bit more about the heart pull if you're new here. High opacity, low moisture is the definition for this technique. The technique we're using is technically our edge highlighting strategy. High opacity, low moisture, heart pull. And you start to realize that my brushstroke techniques and our moisture definitions are super crucial to our curriculum for making things easier and mitigating fail rate. The whole objective is to keep my fingers moving naturally with my body, my bone structure, which is straight back, you see? Because if you go left and right, you're like moving like a typewriter. Where here I'm just making perfect lines. It's much more difficult to move left and right from this position. And see, what I'm doing here is being more efficient. I'm just working the safe edge and I'm actually not moving into the shelf. So I got all of that done. And now I'm back to the beginning. Now I'm going to work the shelf ledge, which I'm going to keep it like more like in this angle. See that shelf that's still white? Light brush pressure, light brush pressure. Make sure you got a good tip load. Don't be afraid to go back to the palette. When you're working this way, you're going to spend a lot of time on the palette at first. So we got to rotate the model in such a way where I still have a good base. I have this holder on the table. My fingers are linked and it's all stable. Make sure to get this lower shelf. Remember guys, if you're new here and you're asking me questions while I'm painting, remember to @ me. And I just realized I never did the lower shelf here. And we're probably got to do it here too. Using more moisture for better spread. Now, I don't have to hold it in my hand like this to continue painting it. Because now I got the hard stuff down. Edge highlighting, it's fine. And we also have to pin wash. We have to put a strip in between the red and the white. So I'm rinsing all that red off my brush. That's right, Jimmy. Talon. Oh my god, I can't wait to read this. I'm sure it's amazing. Fucktastic 4, planes, trains, and big. No. Nope. Started great, and it got terrible. Sleepy Booty is good. Ferris Bueller Gets Off is good. The Rodfather is good. Caddyshack is good. I can't believe you're still on this. This fucking guy. This fucking guy. But either way, thank you, Talon. I appreciate the support, homie. They're getting slightly better at porn parody titles. Mad Sax Fury Bone would actually get option Talon. I think Ferris Bueller Gets Off is the best one. Gucci the First. I will get Liquitex White ink next week. Can I use this directly in an airbrush? Yeah, you can. You can also thin it down, but you also use it raw dog. Greenleaf Train Studio says simply get naked. OnlyFans content, dog. So, let's see if I can carefully put this guy's fucking arm back on. Oh no. See, and this one is going to be like embedded in there in a kind of tight way, so we don't have to do as much. You see, and I look. See, when you have all the light on them, see how blown out everything is. This is how black it really is, right? Oh, and see, that's that problem with that primer. You see, it's already pulling off. That's why I don't like the polyurethane primers. It's just not as good as spray paint. Ray Prey. No matter how poorly I put the arm on, I'll never be GW using a picture of a painted salamander with a blue tacked arm falling off. They did that? When did they do that? All right, let's get a pin wash. So let's go. We're going to pin wash into the white. So what we need to do is get back to white. Put a little black in it. And what we need to do is make this barely not white. So this is like ultra respect. So we're going to use semi-opaque, slightly wet paint. slightly not white. I'm going to try to run a seam between, I'm going to test it back here. I'm going to run a seam between the red and the white. And I got it all up on the red, so first pass, not looking good. That was shit. That's why I tested it there. Can we get a little bit grayer? I'll try it right here. Got it on the red again. And that's kind of the problem with white right there in a nutshell. But we have to create this border. Like it's required. And that's not great. It's a little disrespectful, okay? So we're going to have to give it some special love here in a second. It came in a little too gray. But that's okay. No problem. One plus says there's a lot of not painting black. Yep, we're not painting black today. I already painted it. Now, what we're going to do is take some Bold Titanium White. That's right, LT. To paint them out of black, spray them out of black, and paint everything not black, something else. Let's get a little white. We're going to run it semi-opaque. And we're going to draw a line right up against that line. It's going to give me an opportunity to erase from the line that I made. And you see that brighter white line that's being embedded there as that inner highlight? It's letting me reshape, recurate the paint wash, and also introduce that awesome inner field highlight. And I'm using semi-opaque so it blurs into that line a little bit. You see that? Total salvage, right? It looks so like we just totally pick up so much. See that? Now, I'm going to introduce more opacity, less moisture. I'm going to hit it again. Right here. So that's kind of just like the reinforcement, getting back to opaque. Right here. And the first pass was semi-opaque. right? So I can kind of reshape it. And now this is like me kind of targeting the kind of the diagram I built and reinforcing it the way I want. So now we got that contrast, right? It's darker inside that recess, but now we have that like inner highlight. See? Can you see it now, OnePlus? White's such a bitch sometimes in the film. Got a little on the black back there. When you're painting black and white, you have to flip between low light and highlight. You can't see that white line, OnePlus says. You might need better glasses. You can't see that white line? White will reflect all light. So that's the second we bring light to the model, right? To see things. Especially bold titanium white. Titanium white is like photo or Luma. It literally absorbs light and can glow slightly, right? So if you actually put bold titanium white under like a light for like an hour, it will almost slightly emit light in the dark. Photoluminescent. Frozen Hob is, I think, the word. Okay, so now let's go back to the red. So let's grab some stock bold titanium. And I may need to put a glove on so I don't keep rubbing black off. Remember I told you guys yesterday using polyurethane primers. And I'm already rubbing it off. So like old school black Templars, just like straight up red. We're going to use the tracer technique right here and lay it on that edge, but I'm going to be kind of aggressive with that. Where I'm letting it really get in there. You see that? I'm really laying the brush down to get that highlight going. Here we're going to use the heart pull. Get that red ramped up. Right here. I'm using straight heart pull strategy. Here I'm using a little tracer tech. Hold your breath, swing it from right to left. Use that tracer stroke. Heart pull. Now I do have to repair the shelf on this one slightly because we got that gray on it. So I'm going to go back to the burnt red and very carefully Try to fix that line. Rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it, rinse it. So, let's take it a step further. We're mixing white into our red. And let's grab a little yellow. So like an old school tech would be to use like flesh. Like to use like a elf flesh tone or something like that, or like a dwarf flesh even. And so if you just take pink and start adding yellow to it, you'll actually see a pretty similar to flesh kind of coloring here. Like that's like basically dwarf flesh. Okay. So you can use this spectrum right here pretty easily. And we're going to do like a nice crisp edge with the tracer, high opacity, low moisture. See, now we're riding that rail very carefully, using our tracer technique, looking for that horizontal scrape. This one's a little tricky. You've got to just like use the tip to ride the rail. Get both sides of it. And I'd like to put a really nice faint one on this trim right here. Like that. Slight heart pull right there. So, but back in the day, you could have literally just grabbed dwarf flesh from GW and done this almost exactly with some red mixed in. But now we understand how colors work and how we can just like blend them together, so we don't have to do that. Whew. Just dropped them on the wet palette. Now, if you want to go one more bling step, you can take the more white into the mix, a little bit more yellow. Now you have more like an elf flesh color. Just pop that inner L, as I like to call it, with the tracer technique. So now you see I have the light ramped up again and everything's blown out, but the black is readable, right? All this, but in reality, natural light, a little closer to this, I'd say, still a little blown out. But in order for the light not to bounce off the white, you have to be in darkness, you see? To really see both titanium white on camera. There we go. Let's grab red again. Let me just hit this purity seal, a little stipple technique. Get it out of the way. Let's grab a little white and black. And we got to re-edge highlight some things. We got to build up our respect again. So we're going to use the heart pull. And we're going to just build a ghostly edge highlight frame using the tip of our brush, trying to pull back to our heart where we can. Now some of these are really sharp angles and you could just use the tracer technique, lay on that rail right there. And I'm using a more respectful version. A little heart pull right there. Just straight lines, you see? And the trick is, when you're highlighting black, and I mentioned this a lot yesterday in the VOD, is respect it. Don't just reach for some fortress gray or some shit. You want to just take the black, visually make it a dark gray that is kind of close to black. Because if you're messing with grays, it's always going to be a risk. So I never actually pull gray out. I just make it. Now we can step it up and something a little brighter, right? We got our blue gray right here. We can still touch a white. So we made this whole mix brighter, you see? And now we can use the guides of what we just created with the heart pull right here. Rotate, we can look for a tracer. Right there, rotate, look for the tracer. The tracer is horizontal and flat of the brush. Right there. Right there. Rotate. Right there. Right there. Little heart pull. Little tracer. Tracer. Heart pull, heart pull. I need to fix this line right here. I got a little dot of black on it right here. So I'm going to take that same gray and kind of just ghost it out right there. Now, I'm going to grab more black on the mix. I'm going to reach in here and kind of just repair this armor panel. Got some red on it. I'm going to rinse. I'm going to grab more raw black and kind of fix his knuckle duster right here because it got some dust on it, looks like, or some slight gray overspray. Let it dry. Now, this emblem on his hand, I kind of feel like elements of it should be red. So there's our burnt red, high opacity, low moisture. And I'm just using the tip of my brush and almost stippling, or literally stippling, high opacity, low moisture. We're using the sewing machine stipple, but we're using the stipple from mostly the heart pull position, as you can see, like that. I'm gonna take some bold pyro red. I'm not even rinsing my brush, and we're gonna just kind of slowly work a stipple heart pull in. Purity seal stipple time. We'll grab some of that skin mix we made earlier. we're going to carefully crisp up these points. So we have a little bit more definition. Rinse it. Talon, you hated the fridge this time of year? Oh my god. My poor testicles. What are you talking about? Okay, let's take some of this cool gray. And paint it right over the skull. Take some white before it dries and just stipple some white right in. Before it dries, so it kind of swirls together. Too easy. Now, we have this piece of parchment and I'm lazy, so if I grab some red, I might be able to like raw dog this. Some red, yellow, maybe some blue. Maybe some black. Maybe some of this. Might be able to make like an interesting parchment color by just being lazy. So I've got like a desaturated, almost green now. And now I'll take some raw dog white while it's still wet and just sneak some in. Like that. Oh my god, look at that. The fuck? How does that look like? How did I do that? I feel like I just used that green right there. More white. Stipple it in on some of these twists and turns while it's still wet. It's almost like colors don't matter. It's almost like the parchment needs to be kind of like it's like kind of white, and anything I use to make it like darker white will read. Now, so we got some details on this arm. Let me figure out this sword, because like I said, you see my primer is peeling up? That's kind of an issue. I don't feel it. So let me try. So what happens is I just put some black right over it. Are Black Templar still rocking red trim on their chainswords after 30 years? So there's absolutely a little texture in there. I'm going to have to just turn it to bonus detail. You see it? So we're going to have to just call attention to that later. Let me take this wacky parchment color we made. Dead to me. I'm not ready for metallics yet. What color are their chest eagles? Jimmy, if you're pulling out the old codex. Oh, you know what? I'm going to use this off green we made. Make it more like a black green. I'm going to treat it like a rubber highlight. And I'm going to use it to highlight these. Jimmy Norris, dark red weapon casing, gold eagles, old codex silver eagles, new codex is more of a bone color, meticulous cast. I feel like bone is what's up. I feel like it calls for a bone color. Okay, I'm lazy. What do I do? Golden brown. Golden brown. Black. Oh, that's old black. So like a desaturated, shitty yellow brown. We're going to use the heart pool, high opacity, low moisture. Going to rotate the model to facilitate the heart pool. And I'm going to start in a safe area like the center to kind of determine my opacity and my moisture. It's a little wetter than I want, so I need to be careful and work out of that safe area, right up to those eagle feathers edge. Stipples are your friend there. So desaturated golden brown. When you add black and white, you desaturate. I added black to make it darker than golden brown, but also lean into that desaturation factor. Heart pull and stipples, most important paint strokes in your miniature painting arsenal, guys. LT. All right. Just so that this is easy, you just let that dry. Hey, what color are their eye lenses? Are they red? Major Fields, thank you for the follow. Oh, he's got some ammo pouches and shit. Look at that shit. Look at that. Wait, look at that. Here's some transparent brown. So on stuff like this, it's got like 2 leather cases. I'll take this transparent brown and some black. And keep it real wet. Like raw dog as fuck. Okay, it's still wet. So while it's wet, I'm gonna actually sneak in and grab that color we made earlier and force a capillary blur to occur from the top using our heart pull strategy right here, and just kind of work the tide lines together. And that's just a quick one and done wet blend right there. I'm gonna rinse the brush. Take a little of that golden brown. And just like a 3D printer, just run those like straight lines right here. I'm gonna go kind of center right here. And I'm allowing my lines to show. Because that is like some leather. I'm gonna let that just chill and dry. Done. Thank you, Jimmy Norris and Meticulous Cats, for checking in on that. The red ones, thank you for the redemption. Now, you guys said eye lenses are red. We'll come back to that in a second. So I've got bold titanium white out here. Here's that color we used initially. So now I'm going to kind of just whiten it up. And I just sneak a little brown in there. You want to keep it high opacity, low moisture here. And what we want to do is sneak in and just heart pull the feathers. And if you're using the heart pull, it's actually not that hard to do. And since we're using the same color, just with more white in it, even if you kind of fuck up a little bit, it's fine. That's the whole trick. The problem is like, it's not even a problem. It's actually a good thing. GW, figured out ways to show us how to paint by numbers easier by making all the paints and say this paint, then this paint, then this paint. Well, that gets you kind of locked into not realizing what they're doing is just saying, this is the literal same blue, slightly darker, slightly brighter. And so people kind of get nervous to mix their shit up. Now this side I fucked all up. This side it was harder for me to access. But that's okay. Just let it chill, let it settle down. Oh lordy. Now look, oh lordy, I missed like getting feathers all the way up here. So I have to kind of break my rules on positioning. So I have to kind of go against my bone structure there to make that work. Rinse. Oh, Lordy in the chat, Stompy Jones, aka you need to buy more paints. Yeah, well, I mean, sure, but also, they put a lot of work into making painting models not scary. So, like, yeah, they made all the paints, just like McDonald's makes all the food. They own the trucks that they move the food with. You know what I mean? So they're gonna get that money. They're not gonna just say, "Here's some other guy's paints we use." So it's as bad as it is a good thing. It's bad because when you want to break out of that way of thinking, it's hard. It's good because it gets people fucking buying a box of Space Marines, the 16 paints they need, and they're painting. Now I'm going to go back in time to a darker mix. Stompy Jones. Get it a little bit wetter, and I'm going to try to reestablish some darkening in his wing, where I kind of fucked it up a little bit. Using the pin wash, semi-opaque and just a little wet. Because I kind of fucked it up in a little bit. And I had to kind of go in for a second attempt. Now you could have just painted it white and then washed it if you wanted to. And let it ride, and that would be more than enough for battle ready. And washing it is still on the table. But I'm trying to curate a slightly smoother finish than that. So like anywhere I see it's a little wacky, I'm just kind of stippling and making the adjustment. I got a little on the black there. Wasn't being safe. To grab a little bit of straight up black there. Ratakalaka. Thanks for the follow. Society Soldier, thank you for the follow. Oh lordy. We all know about light brush, right, baby. Let's take some of that black and see if we can erase our mistakes down here. And that gives me an opportunity to do a little edge highlighting on the black again. Right? Just some black, some blue, some white. And you see I've got like he's got like this chest plate that could use a little bit of attention. If I use the heart pull right here. Tip of your brush, pull straight back to your heart. I'm being a little disrespectful right there. It's a little bright to start with, so I'm going to take a little bit more black into the mix. Run it down, smidgen. Thank you for the follow, homie. Let's rotate. Run a heart pull right here. Right there. See, we're just tracing out that chest. God. And we're going to move down to his belly. Just do kind of one line down there. Let it ride. Let's ramp it up with a little bit of that blue. Put a little bit more right here. Let's make sure that we throw a little line in here. I'm seeing that I didn't do much right here. VOL.II says, I think a lot of the reason my whites always suck is I forget to do 3 layers of progressive gray. I mean, if you just hit it, even if you just hit it with, yeah, if you're hand painting the white, it's almost always better to get a gray going, 99%. And if you can get your wet blending game unlocked, that's even better. If you can deploy your airbrush, the best. Okay, so let's do these eye lenses real quick. So I'm going to do is I'm going to take pure white, high opacity, low moisture. I'm going to go into the heart pull and the stipple simultaneously, and I'm going to get the lens. And I'm not like painting all of it. I'm just kind of getting what I can. See? And there's like a little, there's still like an aura of, there's still like dark eyeliner. And all I care about is kind of making them the same the same size and shape best I can. So that's how I do all Space Marine eyes the same way. I paint them white like that, let it dry, come back to it. Let's let that set up. Let's move back to our number 4 paintbrush. We're going to do some wet blending real quick. This is next level painting 201 curriculum content. And it's really easy to do once you've taken our first 3 classes. I'm going to take some of this burnt red, some of this wet black, light brush pressure, heart pull, pretty wet. Keep it wet. But what we need to understand is the wet blending doesn't mean wet ass paint. It really means you're blending it while it's uncured. So don't over moisten it right now. Okay, I'm gonna rinse the brush, that's important. Let's jump into bold pyro red. Just heart pulls, rinse. Bold pyro red. Now I'm going to use a lot more stippling. As the moisture is letting it swirl together, go back in time. Just going to stipple off the dark edge. Rinse, 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 rinse. A little more red. Gonna just work that stipple tech, that sewing machine action right there. Get that capillary blurring right there. Wow, son. And the curriculum is all about helping someone develop that moisture knowledge, that moisture instinct, so that you could just kind of one and done. So when I'm moving around my model, and remember when I did the ammo pouches, how I did them, like plop, done, plop, done. So when I'm blocking these types of details in, you know, you might do something like paint it red, then paint this red, then this dark silver. What I'm doing is I'm always going to have like dark silver and bright silver, dark brown, light brown, dark red, bright red. And it's always going to be scoop, scoop. So even if it's silver, it's going to be like that. So when I'm going around and people are like, oh, I got to do like 2 or 3 thin coats, I'm like, brow. And I'm doing it and I have a blend, even if it's not perfect, one and done coverage. So all my details are being curated with blends built in. And once you learn the technique, the brute force is what we call it, the brute force laydown. You learn the technique and you realize you're actually painting your details faster than you were before, and now there's actually fucking dimension in them. So it looks like, you know, to somebody who's just starting, they're like, that's impossible, that's crazy. That's because he's been doing it for 25 years. I didn't figure this out until like 5 years ago. And it's when I really had my epiphany on like the painting market and like what all painting is. And then that's why I sat down, we wrote the curriculum, we wrote the syllabus, and we launched our private courses, and we have high success. And many of my students are in this chat. Talon, my wife wants me to fill my beard with glitter for Christmas. I said, I feel like I'd end up eating a lot of it. Her response was, that's even better and more festive. You know, having sparkling shits. Oh my God. Edible glitter. So you see that texture in there? That came from the primer peeling up like I said it fucking would. Okay? Like I fucking said it would. You know, Jason gets mad when I say that shit. But I'm like, it does. It doesn't matter if I let it cure 2 days, 1 day, 15 minutes. And so polyurethane primers are better than acrylic for stick, but inferior to enamel. So spray paint is almost always my go-to. Okay? And so when this, and I could have taken alcohol on a cotton ball and instantly wiped off the primer there and reset it. No fucking problem. So it's not like the end of the world when that happens. It's super repairable. I deliberately did not do that because I wanted that texture to appear so we can generate content on what to do in this situation. Most people are just going to try to ignore it, but you can't, right? The real trick is don't ignore the texture. Draw attention to it. Transform it into bonus detail, which we will do here in a minute. Stompy Jones, or rattle cans and ammo? Yeah. And in my classes, I cover rattle can tech quite clearly when it comes up. I have a whole, not lesson, but a whole 10-minute lecture on it. Now, let's go back to those eyes. So I think he's got too much red. Okay? I think we got to be transformative. So we're not going to just do the eye lenses straight red. We're going to make them transparent red. And you guys know when we thin transparent red out, the magenta qualities are visible. Because, art lesson, red is not a primary color, it's a secondary color, and it is composed of almost 50-50 components of yellow and magenta. Most of the reds you paint with are not actually chemically red. They have oranges built in and other things to make them have this desirable finish. So even when you thin this red down, it stays red. When we thin actual red down, the actual magenta qualities start to become visible. You see that? Look at this bubble of water. So like that is suddenly not red, right? So you're just not used to seeing that, but that is red. Red when it starts to break down. So what we want is to utilize that concept here by lowering the opacity, plenty of moisture. And what we're going to do is we're going to come into these eye lenses that we made white, and we're going to just kind of create a kind of a wash effect in there and let it encapsulate all the black that I left alone and hit the white. And we're going to get like an instant glowing effect. Put a little bit more moisture in here while it's still wet. Oh, I just sucked a bunch of it off. So let that dry, and you can do other interesting things. Like you can take this magenta that we created. Now you can dry some of it up like this, take some of that moisture off, and what we can do is we can just kind of creep it into the edge, like kind of re-edge highlight it. And so this is a glaze. When you lower the opacity and throttle the moisture, you're glazing. So I'm going to just kind of glaze right over our edge highlights that we already did. And so it'll take that value information and create a subtle like reddening of these highlights. And you start to see how you get that glowing effect for like literally no effort. And that is just like the easiest shit on earth. And so glazing is our fourth lesson. It is one of the most important lessons. You see how it's like 2 seconds of work and my man has some glowing eyes? Major feels. He says, I don't know what you're saying, but it's working. There's a lot of vocabulary terms we use here on the show that if I reiterate them and re-explain them a lot. So I'll probably break it down 50 more times in the next hour, dude. I got you. But I teach private curriculums, and a lot of our course information comes from that document and a lot of the definitions. So all painting I define as opacity and moisture management. That's it. So the definition of what I just did is as a glaze, low opacity, low moisture, which is why I removed the moisture on my thumb. Now, I used my small brush. Now, brush technique I used is a little stippling from the heart pull position, which I'll explain more as we do it. So these are all, it's brush control techniques to get better at painting faster, mitigate fail rate. So it's a lot of these terms that I drill for my students. And in the first 3 lessons cover airbrushing, washing, and edge highlighting. The 4th lesson, we move into glazing tech. We already did a quick wet blend, which we move into right after glazing. And then after that, we cover effects, which I'm going to do an effect here in a minute. So let's grab Bold Power Red. High opacity, low moisture is the definition. So pretty much raw dog. We're going to use edge highlighting technique, and we're going to use the tracer technique. Kind of a horizontal drag right on that seam. We're going to ride the rail. Skinny lines every time. Okay? Now that one got a little wacky, no lie. So what we do to fix that is get a little bit more moisture. Go back in time to the burnt red. And we're going to make what is called a glaze edit. And you're going to heal the real estate by re-highlighting it with a heart pull with the low opacity darker position. So anytime your highlight gets wacky, you use the glaze edit strategy to repair it. And I teach that too in the third lesson. Now, again, there is a texture in that sword. And so what I have to do is create a tear. God, the texture almost vanished. It's funny. It's almost like when I wet blended it, I did it in such a way that it's hard to see now. That's crazy. Huh. That's interesting. Okay. I guess I was able to kind of smooth it out, almost like plane it like concrete. Huff, you missed the start of the stream. Did you have a question that I missed? Wait, what's the twist? Oh, the twist is clickbait. Talk about my title. The twist is clickbait, son. Let's grab some black. And let's do some diagonal striations. Heart pull strategy, high opacity, low moisture. Now we're using sewing machine stipples. Okay, and this is an effect what we're doing, three-dimensional scratches, okay? So it's all edge highlight, it's all heart pull with a little stippling. Now we're gonna go back to the Bold Power Red. And we're gonna under highlight these black lines with some sewing machine stroke. This is the three-dimensional scratches weathering technique we teach. We're gonna grab a speck of white. Too easy. The host says, you know, I'm literally the only one who reads those. I know. Hopo says, I want to post my dad bod on the whip section, but I don't want to blind everyone. I'm down like 10 pounds in a month. They're actually showing some definition. So you're really proud of your physique and you want people to acknowledge it and validate your work. but you also don't want to be one of those guys who posts your dad bods on the internet, is what I'm detecting here, like this emotional storm. He's making like 4 months. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, like, you got an OnlyFans page? You're going to throw that content up for free, dog? Like, I'm just saying, you should be charging for that, dog. I mean, like, all day. Like, I'll take the free content, but, like, I'm just saying. Easy $10 a month sub right there. Oh, he's doing it for exposure? Is that like the free stuff, the try before you buy? I mean, yeah, that's smart. There's marketing strategy there. Now, let's run back to these eyes real quick. So I'm going to take a touch of white, mix it in with our transparent red. And I'll put a speck on the eye. Using the tip. And the stipple. Run back to some white. And run some crisp lines to generate a little bit more contrast on that purity seal parchment. That was a tracer. These are heart pulls. Rotate. Scrape the seam right there. Bow. Now, this is going to be obnoxious because, look, there's like a bunch of like motorcycle components in there that are deep inside of there. Should have been addressed long before we got to the black. Jimmy Norris, ridiculous. Mostro Morty, what up, legend? So I got to start figuring out how to get inside there and get those components figured out. So I'm kind of leaning toward another ghetto NMN project. I kind of feel like that's safer. Like if I grab some of this watered down black. Oh, you know what? Not even cool. What if we did warm? I'm gonna grab some brown. Even though I already put blue in there, who cares? Sneak a little white. Over brown. Kind of feel like if I just kind of get in there with this, it's close enough to black that I don't have to get max coverage. I can kind of just lay it in there. Kind of stipple in there. And get those components to shift off of black into something a little warmer. And then I can sneak in some subtle like highlight game while it's wet, like this. Right? Keep it wet. So that gray is warm. And what this does, this justifies us not having to do like maximum coverage, right? Because we can leave the black intact, right? If it was jumping in there with some silver, like some raw metallic silver, man, that's a nightmare. I'm gonna throw more black in and stipple more moist black back in. I kind of feel like we could start banging out or blocking in things like this. Keeping it pretty wet. Oh, he's got one of those fucking leather ammo pouches over here. I didn't even see this. I haven't even been playing on this side of the model. Because the sword got me captivated. So we gotta come back and do that pouch. Send some wet ass white in there. Kind of set it up. So let's see if we can reach in here carefully with some stipples and high moisture content. Sneak a little bit of that highlight in. So there's our warm brightening right there. You see, I think we can kind of start cultivating this because, like, the problem is this outrider bike is kind of hard to paint because of the nature of the kit. So I'm just trying to develop strategies to make it easier, right? Try to engineer shortcuts. Right? Shortcut, shortcut. Because what? We would just paint this thing silver? Right? So I'm going with a warm gray, and then we'll have to do some highlighting, obviously. This is just a base coat, right? This is what I was talking about. When I'm running around doing my shit. Oh, we've got red ammo cases here. We gotta do red here. Now this cage, this is what I'm curious about. You gotta generate some contrast. So we can't just... And so I can paint these rims too. So that highlight going. Okay, so I can start this. Now we can start seeing things at least. All right. Pulling shit out. Needs to be a little darker right there. Stipple, stipple, stipple. Little wet glaze tech right there. Darker right here. Stipple. A bit more moisture. Just a base coat. Remember, the blend doesn't need to be smooth. The paint needs to be smooth. And then, guys, we'll do a quick whip session here in a second. Do I intend to do anything with the center line seam of the bike? You know, I fucking put plastic putty in there, and I guess I just didn't do a good job. It's awful. I don't know what to do with it. I guess we can make a stripe if we wanted to. Glue a bit on there. I don't fucking know. Okay, now before we do the whip, let's grab some brown and black. Golden brown. Be a touch of red. Some straight white, maybe some yellow. Just stipple that into the moisture. Go back to the dark brown. Let that dry. It's cloudy, right? Like the way we stippled in. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll just edge highlight it and do 3D scratches. Okay. Oh, and last thing I want to do before we do the whip. Dark red. High opacity, low moisture. Heart pull, heart pull, heart pull. Rotate. Use a little stippling on this ledge. Rotate. Rotate. Some stippling right here on this ledge. Little heart pull. Just want to get that red boxed out. High opacity, low moisture. Some heart pulls. Rotate. Heart pull. Heart pull. Rotate. Heart pull. Let's get the shelf. Rotate. Some stipples on that ledge right there, right there. Let's get the inside track. Always look for that heart pull. Rotate the model. There we go. You have way more control from this position. You know, I'm gonna grab some of this black-brown mix, and I realize that like it goes deeper. So I'm gonna send a darker version of that red right in, a little deeper in there. And then we'll just have to edge highlight that red. Let's run over here. I realize I need to sneak some of that gray in. Oh, yeah, I forgot I want to do these cages or something. What color, besides just more like gray, would these like boxes be? I almost feel like this should be like a bronze. Let's try golden yellow and brown. Golden yellow, brown, black. Semi-opaque and a little wet, so the black will bleed through it. Take more brown while it's wet. A little bit of this yellow that I have over here on the side. So that's going to dry a little bit more desaturated than that. So let that just set up for a minute. Let's do this side real quick. I'm starting with more yellow in the mix because I realize this is faster now. Stipple, stipple, keeping it wet. Want to get that ledge. How long does it take me to finish something like this, Major Fields? I'll probably have this guy done on Tuesday. So I would say 6 hours to paint a guy like this. It'll be 9 hours of content, or 9 hours of streaming probably. So we'll let that dry. We'll come back to that after it dries and manipulate it. Set it down. Exclamation point whip. Let's see what you guys are working on. Agree26661. Thank you for the follow. This is our recent project completion right here, Major Fields. We did a exclamation point. I think we have the link still. Jet bike. This comes from 3D Made to Order, designed by DA Designs. We did a straw poll and chose orange, Astro Tigers. So this guy is painted very similarly with the same systems, the same styles. We just chose hot orange. And then you see like where a lot of the directions I'm going with, like these colors I'm laying down are going to some other direction, like with these fake non-metal metallics and stuff, these crisp edges. So another bike we recently did. Got the black armor, and you see like this, the sharpness of my lines, the embedded bluing, that pop, that like clink, 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 clink. And it's all based on just a couple brush control techniques. All right, so now I'm suddenly like enamored by this thing. So I think what I'm gonna do here is maybe get some. Let's see if I got some mahogany in here. Do I have to shampoo bottle this? So here's what I'm thinking. I got some yellow. I got all sorts of stuff on my palette. So thinking about run a little mahogany right there. Trans yellow right there. Some golden brown and white into that mix. Right there. Mahogany. Mahogany and some of this. And just using the heart pull strategy with high opacity, a little moisture. Some of this puddle. And then mahogany.
It's so damn hot.
Get a little bit more moisture. Who was that? Chaos Kev, you fucking beast. And so, Chaos Kev, can I get some strong man love in the chat from my boy right there? Chaos Kev, all we're doing is creating that cylinder. Right? The horizontal cylinder effect. Real crude, okay? Like, not even putting that much effort into it. Take some black. Down here. Take some of this again, this crap. Let that dry for a second. So it's just literally horizontal, right? I just made a highlight, and then I made it kind of like dark under the highlight, kind of randomly mid-tone above it. I'm willing to take a little bit more moisture if I need to at any time. Maybe a little bit of more yellow in there. Soften that just a little bit. Let it ride. Cascade, double Yo-Dog, 666. That's my boy right there to help with the holiday cheer. Much love to you, buddy. Thanks, man. Still got to figure out what's happening. You know, like she had to cancel her trip. Literally, I was going to drive her to the airport today. It's like, and she had to cancel. Talon.
30 seconds in, hit him with an F5. Hit it back so hard he feel it in the next life. Pull him over that shoulder just like a next.
Talon. Thighs Bear on Elm Street 3. Crane Warriors. Oh my god. That one's not good. That one's not bad. That's clever. So we're doing kind of the same thing, but here I got a little bit more righteous. So I think this one's actually better. Let's get some more yellow and some white. Right there. A little more yellow. Let that dry, let that dry. Switch to my small brush. How much can we get done in 14 minutes, guys? Oh no. God damn it. See? Took a little paint off right there by rotating it weird. And right there, look. Touch it up as I see him. Let that shit dry. Talon, my legendary buddy, Chaos Kev, gangster. Let's figure out this tailpipe situation. Okay. So, we made it a warm gray. Black and brown, basically. Let's get back to that. I'm using the heart pull, semi-opaque and wet. Grab some straight white. Get some moisture.
Hey, are you Dirty Mike and the boys?
Cops, rub your dicks on the car as you run away. We are gonna have sex in your car. It will happen again.
The Huff. Fucking the Huff. Love you, homie. Huff. Check it out. We're just kind of crudely introducing these the highlight and that kind of that bi
It's so damn hot.
blend, that horizon line.
Milk was a
The
bad
gentleman.
choice.
Oh shit. The bot may have shit on somebody. The gentleman and the Huff. Huff says, how about 1,000 pennies? I'll take 1,000 pennies, brother. Appreciate it, Huff. The gentleman. Check it out. We're going to just run some quick heart pulls. High opacity, low moisture right here. We're going to go back, rinse the brush, get some black. And we're going to embed semi-opaque and wet black. Kind of run around those things. We're going to take this, we're going to draw like a fine black line right here. We're going to move in right here.
And his name is John C.
Black, brown. Oh, the Huff. The Huff says another 2x, 2k. Eyes. The gentleman. The Huff, thank you so much for your support,
Hey,
brother.
are you Dirty Mike and the boys?
Wait, that was Love Minis. Sorry.
Rub your dicks on the car
It's
as you
stacking.
run away. We are gonna have sex in your car.
Apologies.
It will happen again.
Double stack. Love Minis says, dog treat. Thank you, Love Minis. And the Huff. I am the gentleman. Hashtag Dirty Mike Life. Strong woman love for Love Minis, exclamation point, beast, mod. Thank you, guys. Love Minis, the bot's going to shit on somebody, and it might be you. It was you. So you get like 400 Yodogs. Let's embed a little highlight right here, Love Minis. And so now let's rotate. Put a little bit of black in there. A little heart pull black right here. Let's get a little bit of white right here. Kind of just soften that. get a little bit more white. Heart pull. Right there. Let's kind of gray that line up a little bit on top. So we just added a scotch of gray. Gonna go a little grayer. A little whiter. Here. Those highlights. We're going to run a tracer right here. High opacity, low moisture. Right here, we have to run a bit of a heart pull. Right there. Now on that brass case, now that it's kind of dried up, let's get some white. Trans yellow. Maybe a little bit of that golden yellow or golden brown. High opacity, low moisture, Huff, Love Minis. The Gentleman, check it out. We're going to run into the tracer technique. Hold your breath, swing it from right to left. Find that horizon line or that horizontal position and just trace. Light brush pressure. Just flat of the brush. Opacity, low moisture. Blocks it out. Now I've got this super highlight. Let's run right here. Heart pull. Right there. Let's run back to a little bit of this golden brown. Maybe a little bit of the touch of the brown in it. Just gotta soften that up a little bit. 5 minutes left. Let's run in with some pretty much stock mahogany. Tip of the brush, semi-opaque, just a little wet. Let's grab a little black.
It's so damn hot. Milk was a bad choice.
The Gentleman, thank you so much, brother. Milk is always a bad choice, gentlemen. No fucking lie, don't drink it. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I'm going to put a little bit more black toward the top here with some stipples. Rinse it. Let's run back to that white yellow. High opacity, low moisture, homie. And let's see if we can just do a little stipple tracer right here. Trace. We're doing tip tracing. You want to be cognizant of that chip penetration as you move into that black real estate that we embedded deep in there. I fucked up there a little bit. That's okay though. Let's grab some pure white. Straight up white.
Red, white, and blue.
Kalski says, time for a drink, bro. You right. Kalski is not wrong, sir. Kalski, I just threw some pure white in there. Look how much shinier I just got. Kalski, let me get that strong man love hype right there. Let's get a little bit of that pure white right here.
Red, white, and blue.
The Huff, lots of pennies. The Huff, you're so crazy. Thank you, brother. I love you, man. Thank you, guys, both of you. Super ghetto, non-metal metallic. Let's grab some black and see if I can fix mistakes down here. Get back in there and kind of erase where my highlight got inside there. Let's take a little bit of watered down pure black with 1 minute 48 seconds left. Right under that highlight, you see? I think the bot, Mr. Yodog's both donations, gentlemen. We'll get you squared out, homie. Love Minis, 1360. 1360 to my boy, the gentleman. 1 minute left, no overtime. We just did a pretty easy set of metallics. Was it not particularly difficult to curate this effect? It was mostly just using our heart pull strategies. Basic understanding of the procedure. But this is why I teach it in the 201 curriculum, because you want to have a little bit of that moisture knowledge, that moisture instinct that we establish with the glazing and the brute forcing, and it makes everything easier. When people say, I want to learn how to do non-metal metallic, it's going to be always a harder effect to learn if you don't have the techniques in your arsenal. So I just teach techniques mainly. Plasma Havoc, 45 months, 21 seconds left, 19 seconds left. Here's a little bit of pure white.
You gotta get swifty in here. It's time to get swifty. Uh-oh. You gotta get swifty. Oh, yeah. Take off your pants and your panties. Shit on the floor.
Yo, strong man love to all these gangsters. Kalski, you got shit on? I got you, brother. Sloppy Jones, good fucking stream. See you next Tuesday. Good fucking stream. See you next Tuesday. Yo, let me get some of that hype in the chat. Thank you guys for your support. So I think we did a pretty good job. In summary, what we were able to do was get the white shoulder pads worked out. Some pin washing that's highlighting. We were able to get all of our black curated. We got our red curated, glowing eyes, texture on the sword, chest piece, some leather, brute force. We laid down the foundation of our metallics. You see here, plop, 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 plop. All that warm silver and this. And then I show you how we're just going to tweak it to look like this. And so we'll do more of that there, but honestly, you know, like the little stuff is easy. You know,